If you walk down the street and you ask people if they are in the middle class, 70% of people will respond that they are middle class. But how is that even possible? Can a majority of everyone be in the middle class? Maybe you're thinking, I'm middle class. There's no way I can even get out. To that I say, 50% of millionaires come from the middle class and 25% come from the lower class. Do you think these people are really smart or even have a special edge over you? Absolutely not. Lifestyle inflation or lifestyle creep is the biggest reason why people never make it to the millionaire status. So in this video, I will show you the cause of why people in the middle class are poor. I will show you how to make sure this doesn't happen to you and how a regular investment of $76 a week can help you retire as a millionaire. So lifestyle inflation or lifestyle creep is the phenomenon of a person increasing their spending as their income increases. Let's say that you have this new cushy job and you make an extra $8,000 a year. Well, that's great, but what are you gonna do with all that extra money? First thing you want to upgrade your apartment, you want to start eating out more often, and you want to add that additional vacation. But this whole time you were thinking, wow, I make so much more, I can easily afford this. Then the end of the year rolls around and now instead of that $8,000 extra, you spend it all. And then some on top of that, and at the end of the year, you actually have less than last year. So this means that you increased the price of your lifestyle by at least $8,000 and you've spent more on top of that. And this is so common with millions of Americans. This is lifestyle inflation. This is why the middle class is stuck poor, and it's why 64% of United States adults are now living paycheck to paycheck. But if you think this is a problem exclusively on the middle class, it is not. More than half the people earning over $100,000 are also living paycheck to paycheck. And if you ever believe that people earning higher wages are better at managing money, well, that is so far from the truth. Fortunately, it's easy to fix and still absolutely possible to retire a millionaire. Let's begin by talking about the reasons that cause people to get stuck in inflation lifestyle. Then we can go over, if you find yourself falling into lifestyle inflation, how you can stop yourself from falling into it. We all want to fit in and feel like we belong, but not at the expense of our bank accounts. Most commonly, this is when people feel pressure to keep up with spending habits of their friends or family or even colleagues. So this can lead to a situation where people feel like they need to spend more money in order to fit in or maintain their social status. It can range from a variety of things, starting with something as simple as nice clothing. If Becky's always hanging out with her friends and her friends have nice Gucci bags and Louis Vuitton belts, well then Becky may feel like she needs luxury bags too and a nice belt in order to keep up with them. Or maybe Dan's the problem. Dan's coworkers are always buying new cars to have the latest and greatest things to try. But Dan feels like he needs to have the latest and greatest too. So your friends who are buying nice jewelry or nice cars, they might not even be able to afford it either, but they feel the need and the pressure to always be buying new things because that is the identity they have created for themselves. They make their money on the middle income earners who can barely afford it, but they keep coming back more and more because that is the brand identity that they have built for themselves. So peer pressure is an easy way to get into lifestyle inflation, but you should just run your own lane because you know your own situation best. That brings us to number 2, lifestyle changes. This is a category that is like a domino effect. Once you begin down one of these paths, expenses will pile up very quickly. But these aren't necessarily bad expenses. They include things like starting a family or even buying a new house. Don't get me wrong, starting a family is one of the coolest things we can do as humans, but that does come at a hefty price. Baby food, clothing, furniture, childcare, education expenses are all just one of the many costs associated with raising a little one. According to the US Department of Agriculture, it costs $233,000 to raise a child from birth to 18 years old. Or let's take buying a house. You may have figured out what your mortgage payments are going to be every month and you're thinking that you can easily afford it, but often people don't think about the miscellaneous expenses like maintenance or repairs that also come with home ownership. Houses are made of expensive components, so when one of these systems fails, it's going to be up to you to cover that expense. So reason number 3, emotional spending. Some people use spending as a way to cope with their stress or their anxiety or other challenges, but this can lead to a situation where people spend more than they can afford in order to feel better, but that's only in the short term. This behavior is referred to as retail therapy. And a study out of New York found that people in New York City would spend $1.6 billion on retail therapy sessions. So I promise there are better coping methods than opening up your wallet. So now let's talk about how to keep yourself out of the trap of lifestyle inflation. So the first thing that's most important is become financially self-aware of your situation. This is going to be like treating your financial life like an addiction. And like an addiction, the first best thing that you can do for yourself is recognize that you have a problem. Identifying the points where you are overspending and wasting money. Which one of the reasons that we talked about earlier do you possibly fall under? It's important to recognize this so we can address those problems. So now the most important part of fixing lifestyle inflation probably is going to be budgeting. Only 32% of households actually budget, and it's safe to say that those who budget are more prepared and have even less stress. Subscribe, as I will make a more in-depth video on budgeting, but in general, we want to list out your income and write down all of your monthly expenses. For a monthly budget, it's easiest to subtract your expenses from your income, and the most popular budgeting method is going to be the 50-30-20 method. And the 50-30-20 method is 50% of your income needs to go to your needs. Your housing payment, your food, your utilities, make sure that all of your needs are met and paid for before you start thinking about your wants and investments. But apart from budgeting is understanding that where you're spending the money on. So if you notice that some of your needs expenses are too high, maybe you live in a nice apartment that's probably too nice for your income, then it's important to try to reduce that. Especially if you find your needs represent more than 50% of your income, then you definitely have a problem. So of your 50-30-20 method, 30% is what you want to spend on your wants. After you have saved for an emergency fund, then you can spend 30% of your income on what you want. You can categorize what you want to spend your want money on, like either going out or new clothing, but it's important to stick to your budget because this is going to be the tool that you need to achieve your financial freedom. The last 20%, that should either be saved or invested. Personally, I lean more on investments, but it's just because I'm a little bit younger. So it kind of depends on everyone's different situation. I'll talk more about investing shortly, but it's important that 20% of your income should be saved in one way or another. Now, moving on to avoiding debt. Debt is the shackles that's going to keep you from achieving financial freedom, specifically high interest debt. So you want to keep your balances low on credit cards and pay them off at the end of the month. Trust me, this will do tremendous things for your credit score, and you don't want to have that 25+% interest debt looming over your head. Most people, this is where they start falling short. They start buying cars that are way too expensive and fall outside of their budgetary requirements. Lately, interest rates have been going up quite a bit, but car debt has been getting considerably more expensive, where interest rates have reached credit card levels in terms of how expensive it is to borrow for a car. So that's why I think it's very important not to be buying cars that really stretch the budget and stay within your means and what you need. Car payments should be minimum, and they should be part of that 50% of your budget. Anything outside of this, you may be spending money on luxuries that you just don't need, and they could keep you from becoming a millionaire down the road. So next, we're going to move on to savings. With a higher income comes a higher responsibility, and you have two choices when you start going down this path. Do you want that new fat check from your employer that you can either spend on things that just don't really have a value, or you can save it every month? So I recommend savings, obviously, but automatic savings are best. There are apps that provide automatic savings. Personally, I like to use Robinhood for the convenience because I can also just invest it right after too, and they have a bunch of FDI insurance. And there's a link below, but honestly, there's so many different options that have automatic savings. It's important to find a free option, and it's really nice that it pulls it out every single month. That way I know for a fact that I'm saving a certain amount. And this brings us to the last but most important step, especially if you want to be a millionaire, is investing. This is the tool that will bring people to millionaire status. So after your 3-month emergency fund is built, then it's time to start investing. And if you're looking into stocks, I think something like SPY or VOO are great options. They're just total stock market index funds designed to be consistent and follow the whole market. But another tool that I believe is greatly underutilized is the Roth IRA. The Roth IRA is a retirement account that allows your investments to grow tax-free. This means that when you go to sell, you don't have to pay any taxes, which can lead to saving a lot of money. Let's say you save $76 a week in your Roth starting at age 25. You would be a millionaire when it came to retire, making millionaire status not really as hard as people really think. So there you have it, the reasons why the middle class is stuck poor and how lifestyle inflation can be the biggest culprit. Remember, it's not about being smart or having a special edge over others. It's about managing your money and avoiding lifestyle inflation. Peer pressure, lifestyle changes, and emotional spending can lead to this phenomenon, but with a little self-awareness and discipline, it's absolutely possible to retire a millionaire. So take control of your money, take control of your finances, and make the most of it. My name is Austin. Thank you for watching. If you think I earned that like, please give me a like, and I will see you on the next one.